Black people should stop traveling to the Dominican Republic. Continue watching this video to find out. Kello Gaming Gente, what's up everybody? It's your boy J-Rod. So real quickly before I start this video, please understand that the title of this video is a question and the purpose of this video is me answering that question. So the question is, Black people should stop traveling to the Dominican Republic, ? Okay? Reading is very fundamental, and every time I do videos like this, people, they always skip over the question mark. I think I did another video titled, Don't Date Dominicans, ? Meaning that I'm asking a question and I'm trying to answer the question throughout the video. But people, they seem to skip over that. And I promise you, there's going to be somebody that's going to read the title before watching the video. And they're going to be like, here he go. He's spreading hate on my country. And here go another Black person talking shit about. It's like, no, like if you actually read the fucking, if you actually read the title, it has a question mark, okay? Reading is fundamental, but people, they don't seem to do that. Every time it happens, every single time, I promise you it's going to happen on this video. All right, so I'm going to jump straight into this video, and I got to be real quick because I got a party at my place today, holiday party, bunch of people coming over, so I wanted to record this before everyone comes over. But also, too, I just want to be very concise and try to, like, get to the point because it really should not take that long to explain what's going on in this country. But before I start this video, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. All right, let's go, baby. So I want to say maybe 1 to 2 years, there's always something that comes up in the news about Dominican Republic, and it always gets tied down going back to hating Black people, or Dominicans don't like Black people, or Dominicans are racist. And this happens probably every 1 to 2 years, okay, where you see this happen. And I don't know why specifically Dominican Republic gets the most heat when it comes to this, but for some reason, out of all the countries in Latin America, DR is always the face of this, unfortunately. But the other day, the U.S. Embassy, they had wrote an article about U.S. citizens. They need to be careful. Black U.S. citizens need to be careful traveling to the Dominican Republic because they can get potentially detained or profiled because of their skin color, and that they need to carry their passports around. First and foremost, you should already be having your identification on you anyways, if not the physical passport, because me personally, I don't like carrying around my passport because I don't want to lose it. It's such an important document. But at least your ID or driver's license. Like, this is just traveling essentials 101, because like, let's say you do get in a situation, okay, they need to be able to identify you. Or let's say you get in a car accident and you end up in critical condition or you die. They need to be able to identify you so that way they can notify the embassy. And I mean, they can figure you out through fingerprints and stuff, but it just makes the process a lot easier. So truthfully, that already should be a thing, having a copy of your passport or your ID with you. And then the second point I want to make is that this is not breaking news, okay? Like, this stuff has been going on for a very long time. So it does come off a little bit suspicious as to why the U.S. Embassy is just now issuing warnings for Black American travelers traveling to the Dominican Republic when the migration issue has been a problem for pretty much longer than you and I both been alive, or anybody who's watching this video. I don't know why they're just now saying it, or they're making it seem like this is just something groundbreaking, which makes you wonder, is it a hidden agenda? Because just like maybe a couple of years ago, I want to say back in 2019, it was another issue with like the alcohol, and everybody was like, oh my God, like they killing Black people, and you know, don't travel to the DR because they're gonna kill Black people with the alcohol. So it just seems like every couple of years you find these like weird stories that pop up, and it ties down to them hating Black people every single year. Now, real quick, before I give my opinion on the situation, I oftentimes get people to try to say that I'm being biased when I make these DR videos. And I don't think that's true. I think that I do keep it very fair, and I'm very level-headed when it comes to these topics, because on this channel, I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and people know that, especially if you've been rocking with me for a long time. I got just as many bad videos as I do good videos, but I do get people, particularly my people, that will come on here and be like, oh, he want to be Dominican so bad, and he want them to like him so bad, or he's a pick-me. Like, I get shit like that. Or then on the flip side, you get Dominicans that get upset with some of the videos that I make. Like this morning, I just was getting cussed out by somebody off of the I did a video about like getting plastic surgery or something in Dominican Republic, and there was some Dominicans, they was like cussing me out this morning. So it's like, I get it from both sides. But when people be trying to say like I'm being biased, I don't really think that's true, because I talk about the good and the bad on this channel. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. And if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for somebody to only talk about the negative things, that's not this channel. If you're looking for somebody to only praise this country, that's not this channel. I'm only giving experiences based off of my personal experiences, meaning that they are personalized to me. But yeah, I just want to address that real quick before I gave my opinion, because I do often have people try to say like, oh, he's just kissing up, or he's a pick me. And it's just like, bro, like, I get cussed out all the time on this channel. And a lot of people hate when I actually do try to give the real, or if I try to give an experience to prevent something, people, you know, they get in their feelings about that. But that's just how I am on this channel. Like, I'm always going to keep it fair. So if you don't like it, then this ain't the channel for you. One thing about me on this channel is I'm always going to keep it respectful. All right, so the first point I want to address is this whole being detained because of your skin color. To me, that's a little bit silly because the majority of the people on that island are brown, or they have some type of melanin in their skin to some variation. Like I tell people all the time when I was living there, and even when I go travel down there, a lot of people don't even realize that I'm American until I start speaking. That was like the only way people could. Now, sometimes if I'm wearing a certain outfit, you know, sometimes by the clothes people can tell, especially if you in an area where it's like a community, a closed-in community, they can tell quickly like, okay, this person not from there. But when you're just out and about in public, most people assume that you're Dominican, at least in my case. Okay, a lot of people just assume that until I start speaking. It's once I start speaking, they're like, oh shit, like he's from America, or where he's from. Like even when I go to the airport, you know, like immigrations really don't be pressing me too hard. Like I remember there was this one time, it was a white guy in front of me and they asked him all the questions like, how long you gonna be staying, you know, where you gonna stay at, blah, 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 blah. And then the lady, when it got to me, she ain't asked me nothing, bro. All she said was, pasaporte, pontu dedo aquí, gracias, bienvenidos, like, welcome home. Like, she didn't really question me or press me too hard. And I'm not saying that they don't ever do that. They do, you know, like sometimes you will go through immigrations and they'll ask you the questions, but sometimes it's just a quick process and they don't ask anything. Or like if I go into the store or if I go to a bar or whatever, like a lot of people assume that I'm from there until I start talking. That is literally the only way. But even when I'm hanging out with my friends, a lot of them have the same skin color or darker than me. Like, yes, I do have friends that are lighter than me, but some of my friends that are Dominican are darker than me. And you will never be able to tell who is Dominican and who is from the United States. So when I read that Black Americans, you know, you'll be detained because of your skin color or potentially detained because of your skin color, you know, I just find that to be a little bit silly when the majority of the island is made up of melanated people. To some brown variation, whether it's darker than me or my skin color or lighter, a lot of times you can't even really distinguish who's American and who's Dominican until you hear them talk. Now, the issue that I have with the news is that the news does not like to put context behind the things that they say. You know, they just write a headline and then they just let people run with it. And then you create all this confusion and division amongst people and they're spreading all this misinformation. Dominican Republic, like I stated in the beginning of this video, they have been having a huge immigration problem for a very long time. Very similar to what we got going on in the United States. We got a lot of illegal immigrants crossing the border, or illegal aliens. I don't really like saying aliens, but we get a lot of illegal people coming over and they're not documented. Okay, Dominican Republic is the same thing. Now, where it gets tricky is when you start bringing race into it, because in Haiti, the dominant phenotype, you know, the people, they lean more on the African side or the darker side. And so this is where race gets involved and people, they see it as, oh, they're not targeting them just because they're Haitian, but because they have black skin or because they're black. And this is where you get the whole, oh, people are being racist. But what about a Dominican who is just as dark as the Haitian and they detain them? You get what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not saying that racism does not exist in the DR, because I'm going to get on that in a second. I will be lying to you. I'll be making a bold-faced lie saying that racism does not exist. Racism exists in every single country in this world. But what I can tell you is that it is more of a migration problem than it so much is a race problem, because there are a lot of Dominicans who do have darker skin complexions. But a lot of this roots from the political and historical affairs that have been going on in this country for centuries, okay? And I actually made a video about this because I don't really want to go too deep into the history, but Haitians and Dominicans have been having problems historically for a very, very, very long time. But in that video, I break down the historical timeline between Haiti and Dominican Republic. and how those issues have now translated into modern day. So when people off the rip just deem it as racism, it's really not though if you think about it, because Haitian is not a race. Haitian is a nationality, okay? But where race comes in is, like I told you, the dominant phenotype. You know, they do lean more on the darker side. And so people, they automatically translate to that as being racist. But technically, like I said, Dominicans can be just as dark as the Haitians. Is race thrown into the mix? Yes, I do believe that people do get discriminated because of their skin color. They do have a colorism issue in Latin America, which I am going to touch on that in a second. But to just deem it solely based off of skin color, it goes beyond that. If you look at the history, just open up a history textbook or watch a YouTube video and go look at the history between the Haitians and Dominicans. You will understand why these two countries have problems. Now, do I agree 100% with how Dominican Republic is handling the immigration issues within their country? No. Do I agree with some of the inhumane practices that I see within that country when it comes to immigration? Absolutely not. Do I think you should be killed because of your nationality? No. You know, people can't help the place that they come from. But I also have to hold America accountable too, because we also have our own immigration issues and how we handle things in inhumane ways, okay? Because just last year, we was doing the same thing. We had Haitians coming in through Texas across the border, and we was on horses and whips rounding them up, you know, and that was not humane. Okay, a lot of people, they don't talk about that, but like, we was out there on horses and whips rounding up Haitians, bro. Okay, and like, y'all got the nerve to talk about other countries and how they handle immigration issues, because that was not humane at all. Okay, that looked like modern day slavery if you ask me, but people, they fail to talk about that. So it's like, while we worried about other countries, it's like, America, I gotta hold ourselves accountable, because, you know, because we don't always have ethical practices when it comes to illegal immigrants. You know, it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black. In the grand scheme of things, most of these people, they're really just looking for a better life. When you really look at it from the bigger picture, now, does that give the green light for immigrants to just come over, you know, illegally and jump borders and act like there ain't gonna be no consequences or repercussions? No, you know, at the end of the day, there still has to be order. Matter of fact, I got a friend right now, he's trying to cross the border illegally through Mexico into the United States. And I already told him, I said, I don't think it's a good idea because it's too risky, number one. It's dangerous as hell. And I feel like even if you do make it across the border successfully, you're just going to continue to run into more problems. So that could potentially put you in a more compromising position than where you originally started from. So just know your risk. Just know your risk. That's all I'm saying. Now let's get into this whole thing about Dominicans not identifying or hating their black side, right? Because this is what these type of conversations lead to. Like, anytime you see these news articles and you read the comments, that's the recurring theme that you always see, is that Dominicans hate their black side and they already don't like black people because they hate themselves and blah, 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 and they don't identify as black. All right, so let me break this whole thing down, because I feel like I've explained this several times. Now, just a few minutes ago, I did say racism does exist in Dominican Republic. Absolutely, as it does into every country in this world. There is no place in this world where racism does not exist. Okay, racism exists everywhere. But when it comes to the whole identity thing, I feel like it comes down to two groups of people comparing apples to oranges, okay? Y'all are arguing from two different perspectives, and y'all don't really understand, like, what is actually happening. So let me try to break this down for you in the most simplest way possible. In the United States, we have this thing called the one-drop rule. The one-drop rule was created in the 20th century to further create segregation and institutionalized racism within the United States, okay? That meant anybody who had one drop of black in them, or anything else of that matter, were not considered white, okay? And this was the way that they kept segregation within the United States of America. So essentially, what does that mean? Dominican Republic is a country where they identify by nationality, meaning that you are Dominican regardless of your skin color, whether you're white, black, mixed, green, blue, purple, you are Dominican at the end of the day. Like, if you go to vote, they don't have like these little check boxes where you're trying to put, I'm white, I'm black. Like, no, you're just Dominican. Versus in the United States, everything is classified by race. And so what happens is you have a Dominican where their whole life they have identified by their nationality, and they come to a place like America where literally everything is classified by race, and a black American tells them that they're black, their first response is, I'm not black, I'm Dominican. So then what happens is it creates these points of contention between the two groups. So you have black people, they're like, oh, look, they're denying their blackness. They're denying their black roots. They're not proud of where they come from. When a Dominican says that they're not black, they're essentially saying that they're not black American, they are Dominican. And they're confused as hell because it's like, why are y'all forcing us to be in a box? Because technically, Dominicans are made up of mixed race society, okay? White, black, and indigenous Taino. So I would be a little bit confused too if it's like, why do I have to be put into a box when back in my home country, you know, I'm just Dominican. Now, it isn't to say that there aren't Dominicans out there that dismiss their black side. Like, I know there are Dominicans out there that they will purposely dismiss their black side to create separation or to create a superior complex. But the majority of the times when a Dominican who is from the DR, or hell, even some of the ones who grew up in the States because they're raised by their parents, they just say that they're Dominican. And they're not saying that they're not black or they're not denying their roots. They're talking about they're not black American, but black Americans, they take it automatically as, oh, they're denying their race, and that's where you get all this confusion. But that's why a lot of times when my friends from DR come over to the United States, a lot of them be like, why do people keep telling me I'm black? You know, like I'm Dominican, because it's true over there, they don't identify that way. And so they be confused as hell, you know, they don't get it. And it's like, if you really think about it, it makes sense. But yeah, I do know it's some Dominicans out there that will deny their blackness or their African roots because they just do not like that side of them. But at the same time, I really am not one to police people in terms of how they should identify. If people want to identify as a fucking unicorn, then so be it. It has nothing to do with me. And that's why I got to hold my people accountable, my black people. Why is it that we feel so compelled to get other people to identify with their African ancestry? It comes off as a little bit desperate. It comes off as incompetent. And it comes off as I have to seek validation from other groups of people to feel competent. Why do we have to look to other people for that type of validation? If people don't want to identify with their African ancestry, why do we care so much? It almost continues to put us in this subservient position where we see other people superior, always. Why can't we just be great on our own? We always have to look for other groups of people to identify with being black. I never really understood that. It just comes off as desperate. If they don't want to identify with that, that's on them. Like, you know, we can be great on our own. That's all I'm saying. But then, too, I've also been told by some Latinos where they do try to identify with their black side, and it's like they get shunned or they get dismissed or shut down, and it's like, oh, you trying to appropriate our culture, and you're not one of us. Why you want to be black? So it's like you can't have your cake and eat it, too. You can't say that you want people to be accepting their black culture, and then you do have people that do actually try to do it, and then it's automatically, oh, nah, like they just trying to be us. They're trying to appropriate us. Now, I do understand that there are some people that will try to be black to their convenience, and I don't agree with that. And you see that a lot, especially in the music industry. Like, it's rappers that they do that all the time, especially Latino rappers or singers. I've seen that as well, where they'll be black to their convenience, and they'll do it to their benefit. But once it no longer serves them, then it's back to, oh, well, I'm just Latino, or, you know, like whatever. You know, even with like actors, I've seen it where you have Latino actors that will try to use the black card to their benefit to get certain movie roles. And it's just like, you know, I don't think that's cool to be black when it's convenient to you. But with the people who truly do try to identify with their black roots or their black culture, a lot of them do be put in kind of confusing situations. Like, I got one friend, she's Puerto Rican, and she was saying growing up, like, she's a darker skinned Puerto Rican. Said she would try to hang out with the black people, but she was never considered black enough. And then she would try to hang out with the Mexicans, but she didn't look like them because, you know, her skin color was different. So, you know, you do have some that kind of run into like this identity issue where they don't really know. So that's all I'm saying is, like, I know y'all be quick to say, like, y'all want people to identify with their black roots, but a lot of times we be shutting people out who do actually try to identify with it. I'm just saying, this is just an observation. And then the last thing I want to touch on real quick is, do I experience racism as a black person in the Dominican Republic? The answer is no. I've never personally experienced it, and I know some people, y'all want me to come on here and give a sob story and talk about how I was mistreated for my skin color, but I have never been mistreated badly. If anything, I feel like I've gotten treated better in the Dominican Republic compared to the United States. I've always said that my experience as a black man has always been overwhelmingly better and positive in the Dominican Republic than it has been in the United States. And that has been consistent since I've been traveling there. Like, I've never experienced issues with race. Now, are there other factors into the mix that play off of that? Yeah, like one, me being a gringo. Okay, I've talked about my experience being a gringo, how that does affect my experience in the Dominican Republic, both good and bad. Then you do have some people that say, oh, it's because you look Dominican. Well, technically, anybody can look Dominican. I mean, truth be told, like I told y'all earlier, it's a mixed race society. Technically, there isn't like an actual look. But I do get what people are trying to say. They're trying to say that you blend in. But the things that I experience in United States just do not happen when I'm in that country, when I'm over in DR. All the little racial microaggressions that I deal with in the United States, I don't deal with that when I go to the Dominican Republic. My skin color is not weaponized for me just minding my business. I can walk into a store, people not wondering if I'm going to steal something. Back at home, it's how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? Really what you're trying to say is, are you here to steal something? Okay, like I don't really deal with that stuff in Dominican Republic. Even when I get pulled over by the police in the DR, I'm not worried about if somebody's going to shoot me or kill me, just for me being black. Like, I don't really have to deal with those type of things. And so I'm not trying to shun other people or dismiss other people's experiences. I personally have never experienced racism. Now, I do have my own issues being a gringo, which I have talked about in several videos on this channel. I talked about my experience being a gringo in Dominican Republic, but that's not race. Okay, that goes more into nationality. So, yes, you will run into problems as a gringo, but me being a black person, I feel fine when I go out there. And this is coming from somebody who grew up with racism their whole life. I come from the United States. I think I know a thing or two about racism. And specifically, I grew up in the South, the most racist place in the world, okay? It's like the most racist region in the United States. So I think I know a thing or two about racism when I see it. I grew up in Tennessee in the South as a black person. I know racism when I see it. So I've never had those experiences when I was in Dominican Republic. Now, I'm not saying that it don't exist. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not saying that it's people who've been down there and they haven't had these experiences, okay? I'm not trying to cancel out nobody's experience. I'm just telling you from my perspective, I've never had a racist experience in Dominican Republic. The only time I dealt with racist Dominicans is on YouTube. That is literally the only time, okay? And those were Dominican Americans. A lot of my racist encounters with Dominican Americans stems from the ones from New York. And I have nothing to do with that. Like I said, I grew up in the South, but on the island, it's all love. Like, my best friend, he's Dominican from the island. Okay, his family, they treat me with respect. Like, I never have issues when I'm down there. So, me personally, I think black people, y'all can continue to travel to the Dominican Republic. I think the U.S. Embassy, they were, like, taking things out of context. And all these little things you be seeing on the internet. But, yeah, I just encourage my black people to, if they ever had an opportunity, to just take a plane out to another country, and you will see how other people view race. Because it wasn't until I started traveling internationally where I saw other countries and how they view race. Because I'm not gonna lie, America, we got it pretty bad when it comes to racism. And when you compare it to other countries and see how they see race, like, it's completely different experiences. So that's why I try to encourage people to just get up and travel and not really rely too much of the things that you see on the internet so you can form your own opinion. Because, like I said, it wasn't until I started traveling to where I realized how bad racism really is in America. And I'm like, dang, we really classify everything as race. And because even now to this day, I still struggle when I travel, trying not to see everything from the lens of America, where we classify everything and make everything about race. So it's like, you kind of can't help but think about race 24/7 when the country you're from, everything is built off of race. And it's weird, it's like immediately when I come back to the States, like from being abroad, it's like, I just feel like this dark cloud. It's like when the plane lands, it's like, damn, like I'm really back in this racist ass country. Like, it's like, I love my country. It's just, I hate that we have such a huge problem with race. And that's why I always strongly encourage for black people to take a trip out of the country to kind of get a little bit, a taste of what I'm talking about. But that's all I got for this video. Black people, get out and travel, see the world, get that different experience. I hope that kind of clears up some things. I know people are not going to agree with everything I say in this video, which is cool. Just keep it respectful in the comment section. But I want to hear you guys' opinions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Peace.